All right, today's club is from the European side of the Bosphorus in Istanbul. Their nickname is Baz by Kuşlaş, which essentially means the owls, which means we're talking about Istanbul Basaksehir. I found Başakşehir about 6 years ago when I wanted to get into Turkish Super League football and found that I also didn't want to just focus on the big three clubs in Istanbul, which are Galatasaray, Fenerbahce, and Besiktas. Başakşehir came onto my radar as a club to follow because I noticed a couple names from Northern European clubs that I knew coming to the club, such as Emmanuel Adebayor and Gal Clichy, both formerly of Arsenal and City in the English Premier League. If you look at the names that have come through Başakşehir in the last 8 years, you'll see that there are a lot of big name players that are moving into their late 20s, early 30s that are joining the squad. Along with Adebayor and Clichy, you'll probably recognize names like Martin Skirtle or Demba Ba if you've watched the English Premier League. And finally, this season, Mesut Ozil has joined the club from Fenerbahce when his contract was terminated there. I have 2 kits from the club, with this one from 2019 being my preference, seeing as it's a game-worn kit from one of their defenders, Carlos Ponk. It was worn during a Europa League match, as you can see with the badge on the sleeve here. I like that a lot because that season was their best in the Europa League because they got out of the group stage, one time out of their previous 6 campaigns in Europe that they've done so. Başakşehir are an interesting club for a couple of reasons. The first one being that rival fans will tell you they dislike them wholeheartedly, mostly because they have close ties to the Turkish government. The second being that they've been more of a nomadic club within Istanbul for their entire 32-year history. In the last 8 years, they've moved to the Başakşehir district, where they took a new name, the current name of the club. They've built fans there, but in the previous years, they had a lot of contention because they played in the largest stadium in all of Istanbul at a point when they really could only fill about 5 to 15% of the seats. Their fortunes are changing a lot, especially with new ownership, and in the last 8 years with taking the Başakşehir name, especially in 2020 when they became only the 6th team in Turkish history to win the top flight title, and the first in 10 years outside of the big 3 to do so. That title-winning squad was based around 4 really key players, in my opinion, with their all-time leading goal scorer, Edin Visca, as well as their captain and appearances leader, Mohamed Tektimish, Alexandru Epurianu, and Volkan Babacan. The last 3 of those players are still with the club. Visca just left last season. One of the traits of these players is they're very loyal. They were long-standing players for the club, and collectively, they've had about 1,000 appearances for the team. And I'll always be happy to mention that their finest moment in European competition came in the Champions League when they defeated Manchester United 2-1 against all odds. And I want to give you one name to look out for in their current squad. That's Yusuf Ndayishimiye from Burundi. He's a great center back, young, had a breakout year last season, unfortunately cut short by an injury towards the tail end. And this has been Istanbul Basaksehir.